All right, welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. We've only done a couple of these so far, and we haven't gotten to actually play the game ourselves yet. But it is officially listed on Twitch as a State of Decay 2 stream, and not a Yoast stream. So
that's fancy.
So over here we've got our special guest Richard Fogey, who is better lit than usual, marginally, with our new equipment we got in here.
You can see my face, even though I got my hat on and everything.
Yeah, we don't have to brighten. I used to basically put as much white stuff on our screens as I possibly could to light people. And then as soon as we switch to the video, they just go totally dark.
I miss the witness protection look.
Yeah, and then I'm Jeffrey Card. So welcome to the stream. And we're going to be chatting with you guys. So today, a big feature preview article dropped on IGN. And they brought up a lot of information about the game systems, and so we brought Fogey in here to talk about it, answer your questions. So first off, though, let's just see who's in here. We got Evco, Mon Prince Cyclope, Takuro Spirit, Raging Sadness. Of course, now that we've got the fancy chat up here on the screen, you guys can actually, anybody watching can just see who's here. Han Solo Dolo. He's blinded by the whiteness of our faces. It's just crazy.
Seattle, don't tan much.
T34418L31. We can't answer any questions about other places where the game might be purchasable, but it is definitely going to be available in the Microsoft Store and several other brick and mortar retail establishments, Amazon, lots of other places. So there's going to be lots of awesome places to get this game. And
the places that are listed on the websites on our website are the only ones with the cool pre-order bonuses.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind.
And so they're appreciating our lighting, saying we've stepped up our game, which is pretty nice. So let's see here. Switch over to article view. So today IGN, Ryan McCaffrey at IGN wrote a big old preview article of the game.
Yep.
And I sort of went through, talked about some of his experiences playing it, because they came over for they were for 2 whole days.
2 whole days, yeah. Yeah, started at there was a bit of setup that we had to do. So we started at 10 in the morning, recording a lot of footage. So you'll see that coming up, I imagine, soon in the rest of their feature over the course of the month. But there was a lot of footage just captured for single player, and we went through various systems in the game. I saw a number of people commenting on all the action and all the intense action and shooting craziness that went on in the multiplayer video, which is fantastic. And they were saying, what happened to all of the really the slow pacing, the stealth, the considered approach to approaching these problems? That's all still there. That's all still there. We were playing that way for multiplayer, specifically trying to capture some cool, fast action and big stuff. A lot of the stuff that you see in the article today is from Ryan's time playing to get accustomed to the changes that we made to controls and things like that before we did the multiplayer segment.
Yeah, so he kicks off with the story here about losing his car, and his character, he just hit a bloater.
Yeah.
And his character is just about to collapse because he's just so his lungs are full of this horrible gas.
Classic.
And he calls it a novella-worthy story, which I thought was one of the nicest things he could say.
It's really good, right? That's the heart and soul of what we're trying to accomplish in State of Decay from a design perspective, is that you have lots of different layers of systems that create interesting collisions, so that you do have these water cooler novella-worthy story moments where you can say, and it's great because he talks about the background of his character, where they came from, and then his geocaching masseuse.
Yeah, that's right. Fulgencio Arellano, the geocaching masseuse.
and what the situations led to that. So it's really great that comes through so well, and that's a big part of State of Decay for me.
Yeah, same here. And then so he kind of runs through in the article. He kind of runs through all the different things that caught his interest about the game, and I think that each of these points is probably going to get some kind of video treatment over the course of the. We don't know exactly which videos are coming out, but
we don't know when or what, but I can tell you we did really deep dives on the base building. We did really deep dives on survivors and traits and composition. So I expect to see some really nice Really nice footage there. We had interviews with me, interviews with Jeff, some of the other folks on the design team, some folks on the art side. So there should be some great content the next couple weeks.
Yeah, so we're going to be sitting here refreshing IGN like really rapidly, and whenever something new comes out from them, we're going to get on this stream and we're going to answer your questions and or ignore them, which is what I've been doing while we were chatting here.
Chief Firebird asks, can the minimap be removed for a more challenging experience?
I just tested that out.
Yeah, you can turn off the minimap.
Yeah, so when somebody asked me that on Twitter, and I was like, I think so. There's so many, when the game is this huge, like you can work on a feature and then spend a few months away from it and forget whether it exists or not.
Right.
So I went back, I checked, and yeah, I was able to turn my minimap on and off at will, just do whatever you wanted to with it. And same thing with a lot of the other HUD elements. You can just, kind of make them go away if you want to be, experiencing the cinematic adventure. Yeah. And Chief Firebird's getting some name compliments too, which is great. So what else is going on here in the chat? Han Solodola says he can't wait for the base building info. That's going to be a fun one. I think we should probably get Brian in here to tell everybody all like. We've got the right designer working on the base building system. Brian Giammi. A lot of you guys know him from the stream. Brian Giammi is a very detail oriented, he's got this entire system put together in his brain. I'm sure he's just bursting at the seams to be able to talk to you guys about it. So
he's dying. So
whenever we get there, you're gonna have a lot of fun hearing about how it works. Takuro Spirit asks what kinds of bases there are. We kind of went with kind of a similar approach to the original game. We tried to, think about, what are the kinds of places that you would, that like, if, you're sitting around with your friends chatting about, like, where would I go? Where would we go if the zombie apocalypse hit and we had to hole up somewhere? And kind of brainstormed between us and the artists about what kinds of places we'd want to be. And so it's that same kind of, classic approach. You got the church on the hill. It's all defensible. It's got, you can see for miles around. You've got retail establishments, suburban homes. I don't know if I want to reveal any of the really funky ones.
Yeah, we should save them for a little bit later. But it's similar rules to the first game in terms of it has to be a defensible location. You can't just pick a house with a picket fence in the middle of nowhere that could easily get overrun. So there has to be some built-in sort of defensible structure to the location in the first place. But yeah, we won't get into the specifics. There's some fun stuff to get in there and discover when the game is actually out.
Yeah, there's such a temptation. We've been holding it in for so long. There's a temptation to just want to burst out with a bunch of information. Like Director A is asking if one of the bases is a tavern. And I'm not going to answer your question, but I think you'll find something there that you're going to enjoy, if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. Said the Takuro Spirit, same thing. I can't tell you exactly what we're going to have, but we've got some good options. I think it'll make you happy. Let's see here. So do you want to start running the video in the background while folks chat with us?
And then just go into question mode again?
Yeah. So let's we'll get this thing going. So we might be hearing the IGN guy's voices very dimly in the background. And if you want to put on fancy headphones, you totally can. Oh yeah, they're totally talking, but we're much louder than they are, so I think that should be okay. I'm gonna make sure that I'm not. There we go. So Director A wonders if you were able to get "Take on Me" onto the soundtrack, Foggy.
Not gonna be able to license that. Apparently, you have to be Metal Gear 5 to pull that off.
Oh, Takuro Spirit was asking about taverns because he saw the Moonshiners mission in the IGN video. That one of the missions they went on was with some alcohol enthusiasts.
Yeah, there might be some more of that in some of their upcoming features. I think we play through some of the content in there as well.
Yeah, some of the NPCs you run into in the game are kind of garden variety survivors just like you, but now and then you'll find a group that's got a really specific focus, who are really into one particular thing or another, and that's I think where a lot of our more interesting characters and stories come from. Spartan Warrior asks, are the firearms named realistically like last time? We are trying very hard to avoid stepping on anyone's toes legal wise. Like if there's a really clear like brand name of a gun, we'll usually we'll vary it a bit and kind of try to, like, if there's a certain class of weapon that usually somebody would be carrying, like, say, like a Scar H. We're not gonna have a Scar H. We might have a gun that fits into roughly the same category and has a name that kind of evokes the kind of thing you're looking for, but yeah, we do try to stay out of legal trouble. But at the same time, Brant here, Brant, you want to come have a seat next to me? Brant here is he is a weapon connoisseur, and so you've definitely got somebody who's on your side when it comes to the question of trying to get realistic feeling weapons into the game. That was the question: are we going to have realistic feeling weapons in the game?
Realistic names.
Yeah, like realistic names, realistic brands.
There's no brands. You can't do it. Well, we can't. We don't have. You need agreements with every manufacturer, and you also need the sign-off of legal teams, which is very difficult these days for a lot of reasons. None of which we want to try to get into, mainly because it doesn't add to our game. This isn't a gun game. This is a survival game, and guns are just tools. But
yeah. Whether you have like an actual AR-15 or just something that's in the same ballpark, doesn't make much of a difference to your survival.
We do have something called an AR-15 in the game because that is not a brand name.
Oh, that's right. That's just a classic. Yeah, that's right.
And you can put military designations on things because those are.
This might have an M1.
Publicly owned. I mean, we own the arsenal of America, right? Because, so you can call things that. What you can't do is call it a Colt AR-15,
right?
Or
that makes sense.
Whatever other manufacturer, so we've tried to keep names mostly along their numerical designations, so that people can
roughly tell where we were going.
What they're going. The silhouettes are usually identifiable for people who are familiar with firearms, but for the most part. I mean, these are all at least based on real-world firearms.
Black Ops asks, do the firearms show how much damage they do? We've actually got a pretty comprehensive little stat block for guns when you look at them in the inventory. There's going to be...
But there isn't like a number value. You're not going to see
this.
The DPS on this is
exactly
43. and honestly, for the most part, you don't need anything like that.
Yeah.
You're shooting zombies.
Yeah, so really, I mean, the difference between a body shot and a headshot is way more important than the amount of damage, the damage number that that the gun does.
There's a question I've seen come by a few times that I want to answer that has to do with sort of maps being repopulated with loot to search for when you're scavenging. When you've looted every area on the map, do you have to restart the whole thing, or is there some sort of loot respawn? There's definitely no loot respawn. A big part of the first State of Decay, that continues to be a big part of this State of Decay, is that there's persistence to exploring and scavenging and searching and clearing stuff out.
Yeah. Your actions have permanent consequences.
Permanent consequences. Yeah. So as you clear out as you scavenge the buildings and sites that are near your base, you're going to have to start going further and further away to get the same stuff, and that's going to start to make you question whether or not you're in the right spot. Maybe you have to move. Once you've cleared out the entire map, we do have a mechanism for kind of moving on. I don't think we're getting into specifics now, but you definitely have a way of you won't refresh the map that you're in, but you definitely have a way to kind of move forward.
Yeah, keep your same community together, but find a new place to scavenge. And so we got a lot of questions coming up too about breakdown, whether we're going to ship with a breakdown mode. And it's kind of an interesting, kind of difficult question because when we originally put out Breakdown, we were kind of trying to solve the problem of how do you play this game long term? How do you play it infinitely? And the idea was to do what Foggy was talking about, come up with a way to move on to a new map when you've exhausted your current map. That was sort of where Breakdown began in our minds, was trying to come up with a very long term way to play the game. And then we also added in the difficulty progression and unlocking the heroes and all those other features of Breakdown along the way. But really, it was kind of it was trying to solve that problem of how do you play this game long term. And since the game's been out now for 3-4 years, this Breakdown seems to be the version of the game that a lot of people are still playing because it's the one that lasts the longest. And so we took that to heart. So when we were designing State of Decay 2, we really we tried to take a lot of the lessons we learned from Breakdown about making the game long-lasting and giving you the ability to keep going and keep your community together and go to new places and keep refreshing your scavenging options. So a lot of those ideas from Breakdown came into the core game. But it's not like there's a distinct it's not a distinct experience. It's just part of how the game works. So once the game comes out, and we're working on DLC, we're definitely going to be listening to you guys, and your input on what experiences you'd like to have. We'll be keeping that in mind as we continue to go forward because we're planning on keeping this game supported long term. We haven't announced anything about what we're doing DLC wise.
Outside of the fact that there will be DLC.
Yeah.
Chief Firebird asked about zoom on scoped weapons, and it's going to be presented the same way it was in State of Decay 1, where we kind of give you a tighter perspective, but we don't have a first person or a scope, like look down scope view.
Montpret Cyclope is asking, of course, how are there limits on how many vehicles you can pilot in the same area?
Yeah. There's definitely a limit of some kind because we have memory and performance constraints that force us to do certain things. But I don't know what that limit is, but it's probably comparable.
Wagon Peddler says that the new Fire looks amazing, and we're definitely going to have to do at some point figure out how to do an explosives focused stream.
Yeah, get Gronk in here talking.
Yeah,
Jeff Salt too.
Yeah, Jeff Salt and Gronk. Yeah,
those guys teamed up to make one of the most enjoyable and varied fire.
It's fun.
Short of having a fire propagation system.
A full fire propagation.
This really went.
Set the entire valley on fire.
This went
it looks really good.
A long way to making these things a lot of fun. I was about to comment that those IGN guys really went crazy with the grenades, didn't they?
Some of that stuff was Foggy and Travis trying to make as much fire happen as possible.
Maybe. So,
let's see here. Well, Nana Gamer says, I pre-ordered 3 Ultimate packages so far. Bad Nana. I'm not going to say bad Nana, but we're definitely not asking people to buy the game multiple times. One is enough per player as far as we're concerned, but thank you for saying that, Nana.
You get to play with some friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Nana's one of our super fans.
She's setting up a crew.
Yeah, she is.
Let's see here. UL Vanilla asks, how many AI followers can you have at any one time? Is that a question we're answering yet?
I don't know if it's a question we're answering yet, but I'll go ahead and take a swing at it. You can only take one follower from your community, go in and kind of recruit a follower from your community, but there are missions that will give you multiple followers at a time as you're going on to do some stuff.
Yeah, but if you really want to get to that full squad of 4 experience, that is where you start inviting your friends into the game. Let's see here. Hensolo Dolo asks, can we rename our characters? One of the things that's kind of different about State of Decay is the fact that, one of the challenges that you have to deal with is the fact that you can't really control who it is that is available in the apocalypse. Like if this happened in real life, if there was an actual zombie apocalypse, you wouldn't be able to sort of decide in advance what kinds of people you wanted to be able to recruit. You got to take who you can get, and so you're going to go out there in the world. You'll have a lot of opportunities to recruit people, but the people that you find, you got to live with them, warts and all.
No, your name is Albert now.
No,
you're living with
it. So if you want to call them Albert, feel absolutely free to do so. You'll just be the game UI will be reminding you of what their name was at birth.
The icons above some of the players from the video are to indicate which player they are, sort of in a co-op multiplayer sense.
Yeah. Because you can see here some of the
searchable
searchables. So they have different the different colored icons over them, the green box and the orange box. You can tell who's supposed to search each box because each of you, like you've got as the host of the game, you've got the same boxes to search the same containers to search that you always have, even if you're playing solo. But when your friends come in, their characters notice things that your character wouldn't notice, and so they have additional boxes that light up for them to be able to search. And so you all can need to kind of collaborate together to get the most out of the searching experience. And that color coding also carries over to the map. Whenever they open the map, you'll see that all the players can place their own waypoints to point out different locations that they all want to go, and then you can see it in your friend's colors, so you can tell who's talking about what. And even when you're looking out in the world, those waypoints get marked out on the out in the actual game world, and you can see what your friends are pointing to and indicating. So there's a lot of like communication tools that are built into those icons in the color codes.
Does the sniper in the gameplay have a suppressor? One of the weapons definitely has a suppressor on it.
The ones that we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the suppressors are definitely still a thing in the game.
Arctic Warfare.
Yeah.
That the guy's using has a professional
grade.
There it is.
Pro suppressor on it. Yeah.
Look at the size of that thing.
This thing is huge.
It's like he's carrying a mop.
I do love the fact that in the sequel, like people actually they carry their guns on their backs. You can see what they're armed with.
Yeah, your weapons are stowed on your person.
I remember playing this game. I can't remember exactly what the name. I need to look it up. There's this game I played back in the old days when a typical first-person shooter, you had like 8 or 9 guns that you carry with you all the time. I played a third-person shooter where they literally modeled every single gun your character was carrying.
It looked ridiculous.
So early on you just had the one in your hands, but then later on you had like literally 9 guns piled up all over your body,
Porcupine.
and it was hilarious.
Are we allowed to let our family see some gameplay now? Family comes in and signs an NDA.
Yeah. No, my sometimes when I've been working from home, my kids have gotten to see the game that I was working on. Mostly I showed them things like, the character generation process and stuff like that. I wasn't really showing them the violence, just because it's a little much for some of the ages that my kids represent. There. So, Hellraiser Gaming 19 asks, when playing multiplayer, do you lose materials if your friends collect them? Or do they just help your campaign?
So really, other players coming into your game is strictly additive. So they are not finding stuff that you would have found that is taking away from the loot that you would have scavenged in the world. They're finding stuff that only they would have been able to find. And so they can... you can certainly give them stuff that you've discovered from one of the containers that's been allotted to you. You could drop that on the ground, and they could pick that up, and they could take it and drop that back in their... do they have...
Yeah. So they have access to their supply locker.
They have access to their supply locker, so they can take stuff back into their game. But there's a limit to the amount of resources that they can scavenge. And other things like that. So they're not taking anything away from you. Having other players in your game is just upside.
Yeah, and
unless they're lousy players and they make a lot of noise.
And that was a goal for us. Is we really wanted to make sure that inviting other players to your game was almost entirely upside. It wanted to skew it as much to upside as we could because we wanted people to have this experience, and we didn't want to have a bunch of obstacles in the way, things to fear by inviting players into your game.
Kamikaze has a question about essentially outfitting your character with
military gear.
What kind of clothing they can wear, and it's along the same lines as the names. You are given what they had when they came to the table, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a paper doll system or anything like that. This is dealing. It underlines the idea of dealing with.
Why so fast?
Dealing with
Boom.
the apocalypse with what you're given.
Yeah, exactly. So some of your characters might have a military background and might come in with a bunch of military gear on. Other people might be civilians. Other people might be wearing some weird stuff. The original game had Shark Hoodie Guy, and I think we've got some pretty good competitors for Shark Hoodie Guy on order. So
no helicopters. I can confidently say no helicopters.
No helicopters, no boats.
I don't think there's anyone over at Microsoft right now going.
No jetpacks. There are no jetpacks in the game, and also no teleporters. So. Black Ops asks, "Are my survivors still going to go missing and need rescuing every 5 minutes?" Or, no, I think so far the followers have actually been pretty darn reliable, and we don't have a system where we're trying to get them in trouble while they're away from you. By and large, I mean there are bad things that will happen sometimes as part of missions, but it's not there isn't like a constant system, trying to say, oh, so and so got lost, so and so needs help, at the same frequency that you saw in the original game. Nana Gamer wants a unicycle.
A unicycle?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Spartan Warrior asks if we're going to have someone dressed as Left Shark. No, not exactly, but, we might have kind of our own version of stuff like that.
I don't want to get sued by Katy Perry.
Yeah. Yeah, or the NFL.
Katy Perry's State of Decay. By the end of it.
Just because we put Left Shark in there.
Dangerously Evil asks, how big is the map? Is it larger than the last game? Actually, the answer to that question is we've got multiple maps that are each about as large as the map from the original game. So so each of the maps that you can play in will take you about the same amount of time to fully explore and scavenge and go through all of the things like this, get through all the plague hearts and the enclaves that have challenges for you. It'll take a while, but then once you're done with that, there's still 2 more untapped maps you haven't even looked at yet. And so it's definitely a bigger game by a pretty significant margin from the original. But each of the maps is about that same kind of manageable size where you can feel like, yeah, I've really explored, I've really accomplished something. You kind of reach, a point of satisfaction there, and then move on. Luke has asked, is there going to be an immovable skateboard in the street called Rushmore?
How's the soundtrack coming? Any chance we could hear some before the month is out? The score is amazing.
Yeah.
Jesper Kidd and Dryce K, aka Kevin Patzel, have the tracks in this thing are amazing. I get to listen to them all the time, but I don't think we will be doing anything specifically like previewing any of the music before the game is out. And I don't know if we're doing anything like what we did last time. That would be great, though.
Oh, it would be. And who knows? I mean, stuff's happening fast and furious here, and something as awesome as that soundtrack. Hopefully, we can get somebody to release that. Wagon Peddler, you know better than to ask that.
Yeah, we're not revealing any plot details right now, but one thing is, any story threads, if they don't get picked up immediately, we've got a lot of time ahead of us where we can pick things up. So don't worry about that.
They're trying to catch us out now with questions like, so how many DLC beyond the ones that you've announced?
Takuro, your question about the van not having a sliding side door is simple to answer in that we have a very limited amount of memory for animations and things like that, and we already had an opening door animation, and we didn't want to do the dozens of animations actually required to do a sliding door animation for one vehicle. So
yeah. Thrill Seeker asks, can you bring fuel to a car that's empty in the middle of nowhere and reclaim it? Absolutely. Yeah, if your car runs out of gas in the middle of the road, your options for refueling it includes bringing a refueling can up to it. So yeah, as long as you can get out there, you can totally bring it back.
Yeah, a feeling of dread that I haven't felt in games in a long time is when I'm a long way from home, driving at night, and all of a sudden the car runs out of gas, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, so True Vulgarian says, so no DeLoreans? Aw.
No time travel either.
Black
Spoilers.
Ops. Yeah,
Oh.
Black Ops is asking about characters from the original game showing up, and again, we're not answering any of those questions yet. You'll have to discover for yourself. Let's see here.
Can we sleep through the night? You can hang out at your base if you don't want to run around in the dark.
Yeah, you could make the
Try to stay safe.
nighttime
stay
your
close.
base building time. You know?
Yeah.
Well, guys, I just wanted to come say hi to everybody.
Oh yeah, well, good to see you,
Hi,
Check it
Brant.
out.
Everyone say goodbye to Brant and
Bye,
tell him
everybody.
how much you love him, and he won't see it because he'll be gone by the time
That's
you
right.
respond.
I'm out.
He's gone. Brant doesn't need your love.
I do.
Folks are asking about stealth and how stealth works. I'm not sure if we're answering questions about that. Like the original game had like hiding in bushes and stuff like that. They're asking what sneaking around is like for us.
The bushes mechanic from the first game is not one that actually got a ton of play. It was a kind of a lot of work for something that we didn't get a lot of fun gameplay out of. You can be stealth. You can similar to the first game, you hold B button down, you go to kind of a crouched stealth mode and be sneaky and get stealth kills. You make less noise, you're less visible. But yeah, not hiding in bushes because it was so situational. It was so small percentage that we have other ways for you to kind of maintain stealth and kind of distract zombies in this one.
But there are, once we get into the character system, once IGN releases some information on that, we'll get into more discussions about how you can take a character, and make them better at stealth and have sort of a stealth-focused experience if that's what you're looking for with some of your characters. Dangerously Evil asks, are there more locations for bases? Obviously because there's 3 different maps, but like how many are in each town? I don't know if we're going
question. I don't know if I did a count on that.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty comparable.
comparable.
Yeah, it's comparable to the original game, and each of the maps, has got some very kind of unique bases that are very specific to the environment that you're in. And the ideas for bases came from all different places. Some of them are just, we remember that people liked certain experiences in the original game and we're trying to replicate that. Some of them were inspired by the maps, like, what would be here? I know, this crazy thing. Right. And some of them were just like, one day an artist had a crazy idea and built something, and they were like, okay, yes, let's put that in the game. So they came from a lot of different sources. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think of the final set. And we can probably go into more detail about some of them once we get into base management mode with Brian in here.
You're talking about they look quite industrial so far in reference to the maps. This is just one map that we've been playing in this whole time.
Yeah.
So, we're not revealing specifics about the maps, but I can tell you that they're all fairly different from each other in terms of how they feel and how they look and the kind of structures that you find and the density of structures and things like that.
Yeah, this map, I believe that people who were freeze-framing around found out this map was called Cascade Hills. And so this one is our kind of a little industrial town by the side of a river, and that's sort of the flavor of this one, but the other 2 maps have very different flavors. So you'll definitely get some variety out of that. Custard Race asks, is the game balanced for cooperative play? And I've heard similar questions before about, like, does it scale up in difficulty when you bring more players into the game?
So it's interesting because we don't scale, like, they're zombies, right? Like, you don't now suddenly have to shoot them in the
5
head
times.
3 times or cut off their heads 3 times because you have 3 players in there. But what does tend to happen is that 3 players, or 4 players, even 2 players make more noise than 1, and so that draws more attention in.
Yeah.
You're more likely to have those, I was searching, I made a mistake, I made some noise. So we don't have any like damage scaling or anything like that kind of changes the difficulty, and we don't change the way sort of the zombie density or any of that works. But just by nature of having somebody else in there who is interacting with the systems that are responsive to noise and interactions like that, it does tend to get a little bit more difficult if you're not coordinating and playing really well because there's more noise happening.
Yeah, like if you imagine sort of the frequency at which you by yourself get into big trouble by smashing through a door or firing a gun at the wrong time or coming around a corner and there's a feral, just imagine that happening at 4 times the rate because you've got 3 other people also making mistakes at the same rate that you are.
Right.
So I think I just pushed the replay button. We got a shaving commercial. Nice.
Are we shilling for Braun now?
Apparently so. Let's. You can destroy zombies or you can destroy follicles from your face. It's great. Braun, designed for what matters.
Wow. Did you get paid for that? I didn't realize that we were suddenly cutting a commercial here.
Yeah, that wasn't my real plan either. Oh, looks okay. They just moved on to the. I thought I had clicked the button fast enough, but I guess not. So, let's just switch over to this mode then, because that just went. That was a stream graphics disaster.
Can you shave in the game with a nice bronze shaver?
I wouldn't put it past us to have something like that in there.
Shaving
but no,
confirmed.
I don't think we have a like a straight razor, close combat weapon or anything in the game. Though that would be nice.
You can customize key bindings on PC.
Yep. Man, did we put a lot of work into that?
Yeah, there are a lot of usability and accessibility options, and love to get feedback from you guys after the game comes out as to what you would be looking for in terms of more of that kind of stuff.
Dangerously Evil is asking a question we answered earlier on in the stream, but we'll just repeat it real quick. Asked if there's respawning loot. If you leave an area for a while and go back, will the loot come back? And the answer to that is no. One of the big themes of State of Decay is the fact that when you make a choice and you perform some action, the consequences are permanent. And so you don't just, stuff won't come back. If you've taken it, and it's gone. But we also have the ability to, once you've completed an area, once you've searched all of the buildings, in your area, you have a way to kind of move on and find a new place to live and keep refreshing your access to loot. Yep. So you can play long term. The idea was, just like in Breakdown, you can play this game long term if that's how you want to play. There's ways to have campaigns that are kind of short and satisfying, and there are ways to have campaigns that are long and extended. And look at that. And it's really kind of up to you how you want to play it. There's an exercise you go through a lot as a game designer is trying to figure out, who's the audience for this game? What do they want? And let's focus on delivering them exactly what they want. But we know, that this game has got a very broad audience that wants a lot of different things. And so there are a lot of places where we made kind of unusual decisions to try to support a lot of different play styles all at the same time, which is difficult and adds some challenges to development. But at the same time, we know there were a lot of people who are going to want a lot of different things out of this game. We want everyone to be happy with it.
So three things that I'm going to jam on real quick. Somebody asked about, can we store stuff in cars? Somebody asked, do the cargo containers on top of the vehicles represent more storage?
Yeah.
Yes to both of those.
Yes.
Each of the vehicles is radically different performance and handling and storage capabilities, and the vans are going to hold more than a small little two-door coupe. And then there was a question about Xbox One X enhancements. The game is graphically just way better on the Xbox One X. There's a lot of things like the density of foliage, some of the lighting effects and things like that, 4K HDR, all that stuff, rock solid frame rate. It is a significantly enhanced experience when you're playing it on the X. It's great.
Dan31 asks, what is each of our favorite feature that we're really excited for people to be able to see for the first time? And I don't think there's we can't. I said each of our. He didn't say each of our, but I think each person in this company has probably got a different thing in the game that was sort of their favorite thing to work on, the thing they're most excited to let other people see.
Right.
I know for me, it's the process that I go through. Every day, there's a process that I go through where I'll start the game and I'll just cycle through generating characters again and again and again and again, because a lot of the stuff that I worked on was the character generation system, and I just like seeing the random combinations and or procedural combinations. It's actually more complicated than random of traits that put these characters together, and just looking at the characters that pop out. And sometimes you get a character with a combination of traits where it tells a story, and it makes me really excited to watch that stuff fit together. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tweeting and posting your favorite characters as you come up with them, because I don't know. I think it'll be really satisfying to see what this game comes up with in the wild. What about you? You got a favorite?
It's hard to pick out one thing, right? We talk about this a lot when you're making a sandbox game. One of the challenges of making sandbox games is that you kind of have to have everything before you have anything. Mm-hmm. And for me, a big part of the experience of playing State of Decay 2 is that all of the systems coming together creates a very unique experience. One that it's always been critical for us that that player agency and the choices that you make in the context of State of Decay really have an impact on the game world and how your community is surviving, and the consequences of those choices are also, you know, something that kind of percolates back up to the choices that you made.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of, I love everything about this game, but the way that the systems collide, the way that every community story ends up being a bit unique because of those choices and because of the impact that they have on your actual gameplay. That aside, if I had to pick something, I really do like the survivor composition stuff. I love the way they kind of come together and create the scaffolding to be a real person. And again, IGN has some great footage for that. I expect a deep dive from that in the next couple weeks.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have for that.
Over the course of the IGN first features that are going on this month.
Cerebral Mises asks, can you transfer storage container from one vehicle to another? All these vehicles that you're seeing in the game, they're all kind of they come as a piece, right? Like if you see like a hatchback that's got a, you know, like a travel camper, you know, thing on top of it, that's just a part of that car. We don't have you like picking things up and dismantling them and moving them from car to car. So a lot of the stuff, it's really about sort of what you find in the world. Though there are, once we get into the base building stuff, there are definitely some sort of like some customization and crafting choices that you can make that give you access to some specialized things. But we'll get into that once we're talking about base building.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like Brant said, we don't have like a paper dolling system, so there's no like you know, putting on body armor on a character or something like that to make them more resilient. Instead, what you got to do is you got to either train characters to be more resilient, you know, give them skills that make them more resilient, or find people out there who you know, who are special. And that's so it's more about who you find and who you recruit and who you can keep alive, rather than just sort of having a kit that you put on every character that you care about. You know.
Folks are asking about duration of night and the day-night cycle. It's an interesting thing. You don't, because it's a video game, we don't have to say that, you know, the ratios for the amount of time certain things take can be wildly different than they are in reality. Mm-hmm. The darkest part of night is not horribly long. It's long enough to have a bit of an impact and kind of remind you that, like, oh crap, this is a kind of a scary time of the day to be dealing with stuff. But it's not, I don't know the exact time, but it's not very long.
Yeah. Let's see here. Death Hour is asking, will you continue to have the monthly challenges? We definitely are going to continue to have monthly streams to get in contact with you guys and chat about stuff. I don't know if we're going to necessarily do it in the exact same way where we had the monthly challenges everybody was participating in to unlock new stuff. I think we might end up coming up with sort of different new and exciting things to introduce. So I don't know if it'll have the same format as before, but we'll definitely still be checking in with you guys frequently the way that we used to with the Year 1 Survival Edition. Ryan the Tant says, are SWAT zombies still completely bulletproof? The armored zombies.
Oh, not completely. There's some really high caliber guns that'll
take that helmet off,
go through it, get armor and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there are you do have a few
ferals.
options. Yeah, SWAT ferals.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, SWAT ferals. That's great. Oh, thank you, Kamikaze. So yeah, so let's see here. We got about 15 minutes left. If we want to stick around, or we could put that video on in the background again if we want to learn about the best razors that you can use.
Go ahead and restart the video. We'll let that ride for a bit.
I'll have to track that sucker down again.
Maybe if you reload the page.
I think if I reload the page, yeah, that's what's going to do it. Oh, an advertisement's going to play. I think you guys might even be able to hear the advertisement. You get different
ads than I do.
Yeah, I guess probably my webcam is looking at me saying, "Oh, that guy needs a shave." Send this guy to Braun. So we're sitting here watching a Braun commercial. You guys can't see. Okay, here we go. There's that IGN first video again. Hansel Adil is like, "They better cut you guys a check." Garlic Burp, well, let's see here, is asking about, are there new types of special zombies? I don't think we're getting into that yet, though. One thing that you do see for the first time in this footage is plague zombies, which that's a brand new thing that wasn't in the original game. The zombies that can sort of give you that. You see that little meter above the mini map down there. As you get hit by the plague zombies, that fills up, and when it fills up to that thermometer, you get sick, and your character at that point is inevitably going to die of this illness unless you can get them the cure. So that's a new mechanic that didn't really exist in the original game. And you got to decide what to do with the person at that point. Are you going to, risk your life to go out there, collect samples from these plague zombies so you can make them the cure? Or are you going to have to let them, turn into a zombie and possibly maul some of your friends? Or are you going to, basically take them out back behind the woodshed and deliver a mercy shot?
The old woodshed.
The woodshed, yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Say I loot a house with 3 partners, and all of them find everything in the house. If 3 new people come in, will that house be empty, or will those new people be able to find items in dedicated containers? So, once you've fully searched something, it will be fully searched. We don't really want you to feel like you have to, every time you have somebody jump into the game,
go back over all those
houses. Go to
houses.
Places that you've already been because these people haven't been there, and maybe there will be stuff that they can find. So once you've fully searched a location, it is fully searched for everybody. And if new people kind of come into the game after you've searched it, they're not going to find anything there either. So we wanted to make sure that when we sort of mark that as cleared, that it stays cleared.
Nanogamer's asking, will there be an outtake reel of bloopers? We are holding on to some of our favorite bugs on video. I don't know when, if ever, we're going to actually share them with the public.
Every time you play the game, you'll come up with your own bloopers, such as the magic of State of Decay.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see here. Oh, Wild Juicy's asking, will you be able to, if you're playing on the Xbox, will you also be able to rebind your keys, rebind your buttons there?
And you can remap everything, right?
Yeah, we basically, there's a few exceptions. There's certain kinds of things like the movement sticks that, can do things that only the movement sticks can do. It's hard to remap certain things.
Right.
But we try to make as much of the control scheme remappable as we could. Because there's a lot of different reasons to do that. Some people just have different preferences. Some folks, like you pointed out, have elite controllers that have new button options. And so
we don't have any of those hanging around, do we?
We need to make sure. Yeah,
somebody at Microsoft is watching this right now, and they should send me an engraved elite controller,
just for testing purposes only. To make sure that this.
And
lives
maybe
up
one
people's
for
names.
Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Since I'll probably make him do that work, but definitely send us a couple of really nice engraved State of Decay.
Special paint jobs.
Everything.
True Vulgarian asks, are there flying juggernauts?
Hard pass. Can you imagine? That'd be horrible.
Yeah.
When's the release date? The base edition is on May 22nd.
Yeah.
And the Ultimate Edition is going to be available starting May 18th.
Yep. So if you pre-order the Ultimate Edition, that you get 4 days advance on top of everybody else before they kick in on May 22nd. So so you can order that so order that either at the Microsoft store or there's several other retailers. If you go to our website, I think our website is showing off all the different pre-order bonuses you can get. So different retailers you can go to get different bonuses up front.
JC23045. Me and my friends have already said we're going to no-life your game on release. But if we play together, would we...
Oh, no! We've lost your... Okay.
Would we each have our own base, or is there a way for us to all work together on a community, or will that depend on the player's character? So you each have your own base. And when you're playing multiplayer, what you're doing is you're jumping into somebody else's game world, and you're helping them out with their game world. And so that you're able to, get loot and get lots of cool stuff. There's some specific rewards just for multiplayer, but when you play in somebody else's game, you're helping them out with their stuff. So you can use the facilities in their base. You have access to particular actions, but you can't go in there and say, you know what? I don't like this workshop. You should have another infirmary.
Yeah, exactly. Han Solo, Dolo, and Montprince are both really anxious to find out if there's boarding up windows in this game.
Similar to hiding in bushes, the barricade system, while very kind of cool and thematic,
evocative of a lot of good memories of zombie media.
Right, was a very high cost, very low percentage feature that would have also been very high cost in this game for future support as well. So no, you're not able to barricade any window or any door in the game.
And I think that, were he here, Brant would thank you for your tolerance, because if we had put that feature in the game, it would have meant Brant spending a solid year attaching boards.
Better rethink this.
There's several different ways to
let him off the hook easy.
to potentially do that. But yeah, that was one of them that we considered, was just having Brant stick boards on every single window, on every single building, and every single map in the game. And it seemed like we'd rather have some more guns. So we went with that.
Don't forget to explain that physical Xbox copy is not Play Anywhere. What is that?
Oh, yeah. So this is something that Undead Nicole really wanted to clarify, and she did this online, on the interwebs somewhere, but she wanted us to ram it home too. That this is a Play Anywhere title, which means if you get the Xbox One version from the Microsoft Store digitally, you can play it on PC. And similarly, if you go to the Windows Store, Microsoft Store from Windows, and you buy the game there, you can play it on your Xbox One. Which is great, but that only applies to the digital copies of the game. So if you pre-order a disc copy of the game from any of our fine retailers that are offering the game, that's not going to be a Play Anywhere version. It's just a digital version that's Play Anywhere. And so I know that. So she was concerned that some people might not have understood that or whatever, and so I wanted to make it really clear to everybody that if you want it to be a Play Anywhere game that you're playing on both your PC and your Xbox One, then you should buy it digitally from the Microsoft Store. Otherwise, you can get it from anywhere you want, but then you're ordering a disc that's going to be, it's going to be playable on the Xbox. So there you go. Insane Destroyer asks, how do I order SOD2 for PC only? If you get it from the Microsoft Store for your PC, it is definitely going to.
It's Play Anywhere. Yeah.
It's Play Anywhere, so you can play it on PC, and the fact that you could potentially also play it on Xbox One hopefully won't hinder the experience for you. And then any other PC downloading options that might be available later, we'll be able to talk about in the future. But for now, that's what we're talking about.
Chicken Man, 1, 2, 3.
Chicken Man.
6, 5. So are these blood plague nest things? Replacing infestations, are they in addition to? They are in addition to. These are a new thing, and they coexist with the
classic infestations. So
So
you can have an infestation in a building that is just a bunch of zombies and some screamers, and you can have a plague heart in a building, which also causes a lot of zombies, particularly plague zombies, to gather in the area around the building. But the two are pretty different. In fact, just the way the zombies cluster in the building and mill around is pretty different. You'll recognize them as being really different experiences. Turvama asks if anyone added a my old green mohawk into the game, and no, I'm pretty sure we don't have my old green mohawk on any of the characters. Though we do have a really nice variety of hairstyles. There's some really cool ones that I've been amused by as I've encountered them for the first time in the game. Insane Destroyer asks, are there going to be bigger hordes than we saw in the original State of Decay?
Oh, in terms of overall numbers, there's definitely, I think, a few more wandering around.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're necessarily just larger.
I think we ramped up the number of zombies that could be in a horde when Yost came out, and so we might be comparable or maybe a little bit bigger than Yost.
It's interesting because
definitely bigger than the original game where it was something like 6 or 7
right.
zombies.
The combat balance is actually a pretty interesting thing in State of Decay, right? You want it to be the case that one zombie is not very scary for you, especially if they don't know you're there.
Yeah.
2 zombies shouldn't be that bad. 3 zombies, all right, yeah.
Then it's an exponential curve.
Then it's really bad news, somewhere between 4 and 6, depending on how good your survivor is at combat, how well equipped you are. So we didn't necessarily see the need to blow those numbers out really big for hordes to make it more challenging. Because once you got over 6 or 8 zombies, you're in a bad way.
Sig to the Ret asks, will there be a breakdown equivalent for State of Decay 2? I've answered this one before. I think nobody wants to hear my long spiel about it. But we're not announcing right now what any of the nature of our DLC is going to be over time. But we can tell you that a lot of the lessons we learned from Breakdown got incorporated into the core game, and so there's a lot of the good stuff from Breakdown that you might have enjoyed. Will still be you'll see its influence pretty strongly in the sequel. Shubidwan says, I am so hyped for this game. So am I! Are you hyped for this game?
I mean, I'm going to go play it after we're done with this stream, so...
So there we go.
You
guys are holding Foggy back from playing the game right now.
Will there be a custom State of Decay 2 controller? Man, I sure hope so. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's not
That'd
up
be
to us,
cool.
but that'd be amazing.
There was like some custom wrap thing that they did like two of, or maybe there's more, but I know of 2 of them for the first game. So I don't know. Hopefully, maybe if enough copies of the game sell, maybe maybe they'll do something.
Undisputed Freak asks if you says that they pre-ordered the Ultimate version for Xbox One, and they're wondering when they get their copy of Yo's. I believe that Nicole has been answering that one. I think the answer is that that it all unlocks at once, and so like whenever the sequel is unlocked for you, because the pre-order is ready to go, that's when you'll get your code for the Year One Survival Edition as well. So it doesn't unlock for you immediately. I think probably in part because I think pre-orders can be rescinded, so that wouldn't be quite fair. I'm not sure about that, but
I'm not sure either.
but in any case,
That might be why.
But yeah, so that's when it pops up. So you still should feel absolutely free if you want to play Yo's before you play State of Decay 2. You can decide that order yourself. But yeah, I think that's how it works though. Yeah, so yeah, we're getting a
lot of repeat questions.
A lot of repeat questions. Yeah, so if we didn't get to your question on this stream, go back and replay the video. We might very well have answered your question early on. We just got the question about whether the difficulty scales with the number of people that you brought in, and Foggy already answered that about how we don't like up the amount of health that the zombies have or something like that, because that's just kind of not a thing. But there are just natural consequences to having a lot of humans bumbling around in the world that does tend to start more fights and get you into a little bit more trouble than you would if you were sneaking around by yourself.
Weapons definitely have durability. If you're this is the IGN first video that they posted on Wednesday. They posted this on Wednesday, and you can see there's a couple of points in this where the durability on the weapons, you'll see an icon on the screen when your weapon durability is getting lower, and then the weapon breaks and you switch to your backup, which tends to be like a screwdriver or a ice pick or just a small knife.
Fastback asks, is there anything more to do with cards besides repair? There's repairing them. There's also refueling them. In the original game, you had the fuel resource, but it wasn't actually used for cars. But in the sequel, in State of Decay 2, your cars do use gas, and so you've got to if you're going to take a really long trip and make a lot of stops, you'll want to load a couple of gas tanks in the back of your car to refuel as you're going.
Dan31BZ6, do you guys get updates on the amount of sales, pre-orders, daily, or at all? I'm sure Microsoft does, and they might be sharing that with some of the biz folks over here. But I mean, we're out there making the game as hard and fast as we can to knock out as much bugs and polish stuff as we can. So that's not really our focus. We're mainly concerned in making the game as good as we possibly can before you guys get your hands on it.
Black Ops asks, do generators use gas? There's a lot of different things that use gas in the game. We tried to be pretty balanced about the way all the resources get used and what they get used for. We'll probably go into detail about exactly how things like generators work once we get Brian in here to talk about base building.
Do damaged firearms still jam at the most inopportune moments? Like the algorithm that we had to put in to figure out
to make sure what moments were opportune.
The worst possible time for that gun to go click. Yeah, well, they definitely still jam. Whether or not they jam at the most inopportune moments, you're gonna have to see when you play the game.
See here, so RJ2830 asks, do your choices influence the end of the game? I think we can say yes, but maybe not get into a lot of detail
yes
about it.
And nothing else.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, your choices matter. The story is very based on what you do, and so we'll let you discover what that means in detail later on.
Jarwick, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, tell me you guys have awesome backgrounds for achievements.
Yes,
absolutely unbelievable, awesome backgrounds for achievements.
They're actually my desktop on my work PC is just cycling through all of the art that Doug made for these things.
Doug Williams, our amazing art director at the studio, has put together those pieces are some of my favorite work that he's ever done.
Yeah, and they've got a really
talented. So.
There's this unique sort of style that he created for our achievement backgrounds that it's consistent across all of them, but it's really unique and stands out. And all of them, I think we set it up so that whenever you unlock an achievement, you also get that piece of art as a reward for it. So enjoy that. I certainly am.
NPCs can absolutely be infected by bud plague.
Yep. Blade of Meat Shield says the last thing Foggy has seen is his favorite art ever done.
The last thing that I've seen of Doug Williams' art is my favorite thing.
Yeah, seriously. Blade of Meat Shield was asking about things like select fire on weapons, and I think I don't know if you actually can see it during the so you can see like whenever somebody's aiming the gun, you see the word single right there. You do have the option with some guns to switch between single shots, like semi-automatic versus fully automatic versus burst fire. That's totally a thing, and that's what that means in the UI right there. So,
Human enemies.
Human
Yes.
enemies? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, human enemies. Is that something? Did you guys get into that with the guys when they were here? Is that something that might be in a future video? Or,
Almost certainly.
We'll see what comes out. But yeah, we'd love to be able to talk to you about that at some point soon. Sig to the Ret asks, is there endless mode? It's really what it is the game just kind of responds to how you want to play. Like if you decide not to end it, then it'll never end. And it's just kind of up to you. Like we talked about there being choices about the ending. We're not going to go into details about that, but you decide not just what happens, but also when it happens. And if you want your game to last forever, you want to spend a long time with this community you've built up. You can spend as long as you want to, and there's nothing stopping you from just playing forever if that's the way you want to play. If you want to drive towards an ending and get that sort of satisfying conclusion, you've got that option. But if you just want to stick around with these people that you've come to feel attached to, then that's also a thing you can do.
JC23045. 45? Yeah.
Yeah.
Will players be allowed to customize the HUD/UI at all? You can turn certain elements on and off.
Yep.
To the point where there is absolutely no HUD on the screen whatsoever. But
you just
can't
run
move
around, yeah.
pieces around.
Yeah. And
Are there save game slots on Xbox? You can have up to three communities.
Yep. And so we treat them like you can kind of like decide which of your communities you're going to play with. So you can have your community, your long-term community, and then your community that you're just trying to win fast with, and then your community that you take into other people's games or you invite your friends into, however you want to divide it up. You got some options.
I think are we at time?
I think we might be at time. Oh, we are past time. So thank you everybody for coming here today.
And all the great questions. Sorry we weren't able to answer everything. Some of the stuff we aren't able to answer at all right now, and some of the stuff we can't answer because you guys type so fast.
Yeah, exactly. One thing you can definitely do, though, is go to the Undead Labs early warning newsletter. Basically, you can sign up for our newsletter, which is at undeadlabs.com/early-warning. And if you go there, any new info that comes out, you'll be alerted to it. So you could, Undead Nicole can also probably post you a link to that. And yeah, in the meantime, it's great to have you guys here. And anytime IGN comes up with new stuff, we're going to try to get on this stream and be able to answer more of your questions, bring more members of the dev team in here to address specific things that they know about. And thank you for all your attention. And it's been great to talk to you guys. So say goodbye to Richard Fogey and to me, and we will get out of here. See you later, guys.
Bye.